All good? Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello again. It's a quick scene change, and now we have extra chairs. So if anyone needs to come up and sit, feel free to. We're running a little bit behind, but I just want to call the meeting to order with a pledge to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay. Oh, it's me. All right. The first item on my agenda is just to check and see if there's anything listed that any town board members feel the need to recuse themselves from discussing. Anything? Okay. Hearing nothing, I'm going to move on. I've looked for a motion to approve the minutes of the previous month's meetings.
So moved.
No,
you didn't get
wait.
them.
Nice try.
So I put my flash drive in to send you all minutes. That would have been nice to prove them. And my flash drive came up compromised. So before I send you all a computer bug of some sort, I just asked that maybe I had to retype them. I have them ready. I'll send them out, but to defer the approval of them till next meeting.
Sure.
I'll accept a motion to defer approval of the minutes until next meeting. Okay, the second item, I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss proposed pending or current litigation and/or the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person, corporation, or relating to the appointment, promotion, demotion, discipline, or removal. I need a motion.
So
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will be right back. We came back. I swear we would. Motion to resume the regular meeting or come out of executive session first.
second.
All in favor? All right. So the next item on the agenda is to talk about the trending. I have two people that are here with us, both our assessor and the director of real property for Columbia County. For those that were here during the workshop, they were able to answer questions and help us understand a little bit better about the process. And I just wanted to kind of update the community that we have been in contact with our own lawyer and just to kind of clarify the job of the town board and what our role is in this, which is basically we have zero role. We can't direct the assessor to do an assessment. We cannot direct them to stop. The assessment is something that is done in conjunction with New York State. And it is not something that is determined by the town board at all. The only thing that we have a control of is what the budget is, which is what your assessment and the budget work together to determine how much taxes you pay. So I actually want to invite Mark Taylor to come up and just kind of explain the county's role and how they help the assessors in the counties. And thank you, Mark.
No problem. So I didn't get, I walked into the middle of the conversation during the workshop, so I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. I am Mark Taylor. I'm the director of the Real Property Tax Service Agency here for Columbia County. Supervisor Lutz invited me down to talk about, not here to talk about Renee's assessment role or anything that he did to come up with his values, but more to talk about the process of what happens after the assessment role. And if you have any questions on resources on finding comparables and stuff like that to challenge your assessments. So we had a gentleman asked a question just before he left in regards to the comment that's been going around is just, well, my my assessment went up 25%, so my taxes are going up 25%. I want to explain the difference there between assessment roll and tax roll. The assessor makes the assessment roll and I make the tax roll. And I use the assessor's roll to develop that tax roll. The taxes are determined by the budgets that are set by the municipalities and not necessarily by your assessed values. So as a pool of assessed value increases in a municipality, if the budget were to stay the same, the tax rate would fall. So a good example of that was Greenport did a full reval last year. They raised their assessed pool from about $580 million to over $1 billion. And their tax rates were essentially cut in half because of that. Now, granted, just because they may not fall at the same rate just because of the fact that there are things that you can't take into account, like an increase in budgeting, increase in school budget. Everybody saw the school budget votes this past week. So there are uncontrollables there, but just because the point I'm trying to make is just because your assessed values are increasing doesn't mean the taxes are going to increase by the same rate, because it was a reassessment throughout the entire town. We put up on the screen before, I don't know if there's any new folks to the room, but there is a list of comparable sales for the entire county on our website. Our website, the supervisor said she's going to send out tomorrow, but if anybody wanted to jot it down quick, it's realproperty.columbiacountiny.com. So we have basically the sales for the past 10 years on there for the entire county. Essentially, you'll notice that the sales end June 30th of last year, because the value date is July 1st of last year. So any sales that are newer than that are not considered, because we need time to basically prepare the assessment rolls in order to have them ready by May 1st. On that roll, you'll see it'll start with the property SBL, which is the tax map number. Over from that,
He made a QR code.
Okay.
Melvin made a QR code. This will go directly to your website. So if you take your phone and actually screenshot that will take you directly to the Real Property website. And there's one behind you if you don't feel like trying to do this one.
and
Melvin,
I don't-
whiz. That's all we can say.
I don't have the exact layout, but what that in exact order, but what that sheet will tell you is the square footage of the property, how many bedrooms, how many baths. It'll tell you the assessed value of the property, the sale price of the property, and the assessed value at the time of sale, as well as the address of the property. Now that obviously is hard to digest on paper. We do have another site where if you pick a few sales that you think are pretty comparable to yours, there is another site that you can link to from our website. It's right on our homepage to view it's a searchable by parcel assessment roll. So you can search by the parcel number and pull up a more detailed analysis, a report of what the improvements are for a particular property that you are considering as a comparable. And then also you can see the aerial view through the GIS map. Obviously there's no photos unless there's a street view from Google or something on there. So, it is recommended that if you're going to use comparables, that you actually go look at the house from the road to make sure that it looks like yours, but that's just a thought. Are there any specific questions on any of that?
Since you're here, I think that goes to you. My question has to do with my understanding of the equalization, as Renee explained it, and trying to get to 100%. It's beneficial for all of us. So what happens if in a recent sale, a place sells for 11.5 million and is assessed at maybe 4.5? How does that affect all of us?
So that's actually, I think, a question that Renee, you're gonna want to answer because you did all the analysis for your role. So the reason why I'm deflecting to Renee on that one is because I wasn't part of the process in him developing his role. So to explain, each individual town has their own assessor, and they're the ones that are taxed with establishing property values.
Theoretically, decide the tax now that we are paying, so what if there are discrepancies on the higher price properties? How does it affect the rest of us from your point of view, not having assessed them?
But I don't determine taxes. I calculate them based on the budgets and his assessment role. All I do is calculate them. So it's up to him to analyze those anomalies and address them in the role. That's not, I'm basically a numbers person. I take this number and that number and make a calculation with it. So Renee, would you mind answering that?
It's a song and dance. But They're
So,
tag
I mean, each town and certainly in Ankrum, there is what we call outliers. That means there are some sales out there that are just so far-fetched that you can't imagine anybody paying that kind of price, but people do. And so when you go through this analysis, and the state actually does that as well, if it looks like there's a real outlier, you don't use it. It's not part of the valuation. This specific sale that has been alluded to has not been used. It's an outlier. It's a real outlier. And there's a few more pending that could be even more outliers. So, well, there you go. And well, there's a percentage, they rate them to a percentage of assessed value to what it's sold for. So if it's over a certain percent, and don't quote me on that percent because I don't really know it, but it's, if there's enough of them go over that percent, then after a while you have to start using them. Fortunately, we're not at that point, but there are other sales that I would have, 4 or 5 years ago said are anomalies and outliers that are no longer because there's more of them occurring. Basically, yeah.
Reevaluate the reassessment. How does that computer catch the $1 million or $2 million renovation that took place on that property?
Good question. When I get the permits and I get the COs from our building department, I put in based on the data of the improvement or the addition to the house, the renovation to the house, I put that in, and there's a costing program in there. And that is what I have to use to put that value in. If that same property, and it has happened many times, goes on the market, you'll find that improvement did not get close to the market value of the sales price. It added value, but not equal to the market value. So it's always a catch-up process, unfortunately.
Could you just repeat the question for the people online?
Oh, yes.
Just repeat the question. People online couldn't hear it.
Oh, okay.
Larry's
The
question,
most recent
the
question
most recent question. Larry, do you want to re-ask your question just so?
into a microphone.
And actually, Renee's going to give you the microphone. Just so everyone online can hear.
So given that people are always doing renovations, and Renee did a great explanation, is that it's based on my question was, how do you catch that $1 million, $2 million renovation that took place, or $500,000 or a $300,000 rent that obviously is going to boost the market value of that particular house, but I guess it's not realized until which time a sale takes place, that then it actually comes to its full fruition in the value of the home at that particular time. So it's really a delayed process that ultimately comes into play, but then it could be an outlier.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, anytime I put those values in, there is an increase in that assessment on that particular property due to the improvement. But many times it would not equate to the market value increase. And because, you know, we do have people who fix up homes and then turn around and sell them. And they make pretty good money off of that. Well, thank you for that, but it's part of the role. So.
I have a question again about comps that Amy Allen had asked about before and finding a reasonable comp. I know I grieved on my house last time. I have a log cabin, and trying to find log cabin sales within Ankrum is quite challenging. And I went outside of Ankrum last time. I had to go as far as like Dutchess County or further afield in Columbia. But what I was listening to earlier was that you can't go outside of Ankrum to find your comps now. And so how do I deal with that?
You know, I hesitate to tell you to not go outside of Ankrum because I realize there's limited, especially if you're talking about long homes. Yeah, I have no access to the data in other towns in the Ankrum website. So I'm limited to those comparables. And, you know, I will say that some years back when I started doing this more, that was an argument I had and has never been resolved. I feel actually that the RPS program, which is the program I use, should have access to some of the other towns, especially in this market area, so we can pull comps from that as well. But keep in mind, it's an antiquated program. They're updating it and has no more support. So that isn't going to happen anytime soon. So, but if you can, you know, if you, like I said previously, I don't know if you were here, if you get an appraisal done, you know, an appraiser will go across town lines and rightfully so, as long as it fits the other proximity and time constraints. Yes, it does. Yeah. And you know, not all appraisals are equal. So, you know, I look at appraisal, and Mark was an appraiser, so he really knows this. You know, when the adjustments are made, they need to be close to what the subject was. If you have to adjust a comparable by 50%, that's not a good comparable. And, you know, if you're in a log home, you're going to have to make adjustments because, again, there's not a lot of those out there. So I would encourage you to find those sales and present them to me anyway. And I may not be able to, but, you know, we can reconcile. I can see through what the values are. So.
I think one of the big things that we as the town board can do is just share the information from real property to everyone via email, but also encourage everyone to file grievance documents if you feel that your property is incorrectly assessed. Now is the time to do it. And grievance day is next Wednesday. And Renee, are you in the office a couple more days before? Just
That was on Saturday is the last time. Yeah.
okay.
But you can still, you know, you can send me your grievance documents with whatever documentation you can come up with. And you don't have to wait for me. You can come to the actual grievance day, which is the next Wednesday from 4 to 8 p.m. We always encourage everyone to come to see me first, but being such a close date now, that is what they're for, an independent group, and they will listen to you, and I will have to digest what was provided, and then they'll have a subsequent meeting to determine the decision, make it public.
And Renee, I'll add to that. It's very important that we understand that Renee is separate from us. We have no, you know, it would be a bad idea if the board, which is has political power, had some sort of, you know, influence on the actual value of property. That would be inappropriate. And the BAR is separate from Renee. So it kind of serves as like your appellate or your ability to, you know, grieve or provide information to persuade them to change your value. So I think the biggest thing that we looked at this as I'll give my, I guess, personal feeling on it, but not exactly. But I really want Ancrum to pay its share and no more than its share. And I want to make sure that, you know, we are being equitably treated. And that's the way I see it. However that happens, we have to be equitable. And we are also functioning within New York State laws and regulations, and that's what we have to do, and that's the system that we have to do it.
And all ours went up too.
Yeah, yeah,
Our assessments went up too.
yep. Yeah, we're also in the same boat that you are.
Yeah.
So.
I will just say that, you know, those who might think that I would influence the Board of Assessment Review, that's not so. You know, I make a recommendation, and sometimes I will say, I think this should be changed to this value, and they'll override me, and they'll say, no, I think it should be more. Or sometimes they'll say, no, we're not accepting your recommendation. So they're an independent group.
Libby?
And so I'm Libby McKee, and I also live in Ancrum. And I prepared a letter, and I just wanted to share my thoughts with you because that's what all of us are, here to talk about. And so if I may, first of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak about these recent assessments, and in particular, our reassessment that has more than doubled in the past 4 years. And that's a very short period of time. I'm sure you'll agree. I would respectfully ask the town to step back and carefully consider whether reassessments of this magnitude truly reflect fair and sustainable market values for properties here in Ancrum. Now, common sense tells most people that kind of increase ought to be tied to major improvements or major changes to the property. But during the same period, in our case, there have been no major structural or functional changes that would justify increases on that scale. So naturally, we're asking questions. What comparable sales are being relied upon? How many truly comparable properties actually exist at these valuation levels in Ancrum? And this. For example, may I put this down or? It's, okay, I'm sorry. Now can you hear me? Okay, I'll just, okay. Our property, for example. Our property, for example, is affected by roadway exposure, mixed use surroundings, reduced privacy, and proximity to industrial activity, including the paper mill. Those are real factors that affect marketability and value. And I'm wondering, does the computer program take that into consideration? I think many residents are not objecting simply because values have increased. They're questioning whether these rapidly escalating assessments are realistic, equitable, and sustainable for the long-term future of our community. And I would also respectfully ask, has the assessment committee assessed all properties in Ancrum during this latest round, or were certain categories of properties affected more heavily than others? And can the town confirm whether all homeowners were reassessed under the same methodology and standards. And I believe residents would appreciate greater transparency regarding the methodology, comparable sales, and assumptions being used before concluding that these assessments actually represent true market values. And as I said, I'm a realtor. You know, I've sold and bought a lot of properties in this particular area. And I've had discussions and arguments with clients trying to find comparables. And you can go on the MLS for days and not really find true comparables. And I'm wondering how experienced those of you who are making these assessments are using, or are you just using a computer model?
I don't use a computer model because I wouldn't know how to operate that. But so the state does use some computer modeling because that's how they come up with their analysis based on the sales that have occurred in the market area. But back to your comment about you had concerns about your specific property. That's a classic case of you should come talk to the assessor, myself. And that could be a classic case of that increase may not be appropriate for your property. And that's what I've told everyone, you know, it's not, it was a percent increase across the town. It may not be adequate for every property in town. So, you know, there are exceptions to that. Yeah.
Sure.
There's a question on Zoom, correct, Melvin?
All right, so we had a question on Zoom from Santina Tyrone. Okay, and the question is, what if there have been no improvements on someone's property and one's property value goes up immensely? What actually determines increase in property value on each individual home? Inside, outside? Please explain.
Well, if there was no improvements, it was basically market driven, saying that, you know, the market value is higher than the assessed value. And the potential is there for that market value.
I can take one more question. Yeah, Jane.
Thank you. I think this is for you, Colleen, or the board. I understand that you can't have any impact or influence on the assessment process, and I totally agree with that. I think that you explained that very well. However, I am under the impression, correct me if I'm wrong, that the board gives a thumbs up or a thumbs down vote to do the assessment on the implementation. So what was there a board vote? How did the board vote? And I guess what was the overall rationale for that?
Technically, we cannot vote whether it happens or it does not, but we have the ability to vote on whether Renee expends hours as in our budget, like his budget line of hours, whether he can use time to actually do the work. That was really what he was asking for. We can't say, no, you can't do a reval or a trending, or yes, you need to do one or whatever. We can't do that, not legally. It is not our ability to do that. He just wanted to make sure he could get paid before he did a tremendous amount of work. Would you agree, Monica? It's mind-boggling to me, but because he is going line by line on each property and trying to be as equitable as he can. So, and the state was pushing him to as well.
One more,
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
One more.
But isn't it true that before you authorize, you let him loose? Can I use that term? Before you let him loose, you have some idea of the conclusion. In other words, you have some idea that it's going to be a worthwhile effort before you expend those budgetary funds.
Sure. So it was actually put into the budget last year. This has been kind of something that has been coming up for the past 3 years or so, really since the first reval, since the first, full reval. And so it was pre-budgeted that this could be coming up to make sure that we had funds to cover Renee possibly doing this. But he honestly doesn't know until he works with the state. The state is the one that's giving him the information. Oh, you're at 80% or you're at, whatever. So we were and understanding that if we didn't do it this year, we were probably going to be looking at a full revaluation, which is a lot more expensive, and looking at that possibly next year. So we knew if it wasn't going to be this year, it was probably most definitely going to be next year, because the state was really after us because of the rate at which our equalization was falling. So yeah.
The state that sort of impelled this action. So it was the state that sort of impelled this action.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Not you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. Go right ahead. Yeah. Mark will tell you the full process, not an assessor, never been assessor, and don't want to be an assessor.
So just for clarification, so in January, the state releases PDC reports for every municipality in the county. A PDC report explains what your CAMA ratio is, which is the computer aided mass appraisal that the state uses. So basically I have your PDC report if anybody needs to see it, but the PDC report was saying that your equalization rate was going to drop to 80% from 90% that you were. So at that point, I think it was about that time that the decision was made to do a trend. And I want to clarify that this Ankrum isn't the only town trending in Columbia County. There's 4 other towns doing it too, 5 total. So what the state recommends is, you folks did a reval back in 2023. The state recommends looking at those reval assessments every year after that reval and making minute adjustments every year. That way it keeps the reval fresh and equitable. And then every 6 years redoing that reval, because inventory is only good for 6 years in the eyes of the state. And this goes, these metrics are used in a lot of other things that the state considers for the town. So it is important to keep your equalization rates as high as possible. That's an overview of the process. I don't know if there's any specific questions on that. It's kind of mundane, but it raises assessed value. Again, the tax rates are calculated after the fact once the town and municipalities establish their budgets, and then again you have a larger pool of assessed value that's being used to generate that taxable amount. Again, the revenue is set here by them, so they still have a tax cap that they can't increase their budget above. So the fact that they're increasing assessed values doesn't necessarily mean they're raising more revenue. It's that they're using a bigger pool to raise the amount of revenue. Yeah, so the county's budget is taken into account on that. So obviously it's county, town, and school, and in the school and in the town are the special districts of the town.
Mm-hmm.
I think I increasing the budget more.
I would have to look at it on a case by case basis for this town, but it is. I think the increases at the county level have been modest over the past several years, but I don't know exactly. I'd have to compare that.
All right. Thanks, Renee. Amy, I'm sorry.
Are we only looking then at the most recent sales section on the website? We're not looking at any other previous years, just the sales data number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the most recent is certainly is the best, but obviously there's only a limited amount of sales every year. So, I mean, the state, even on this, actually did go back to 2022, which was the last valuation year, and then going forward. So it's about 3 years. So I definitely use 3 years. And if I just may have the last mention of this, I feel I'm the messenger in this process. I work for the town. I'm guided by the state, and I sympathize with all the property owners. So I have to balance all that and still try to make a fair and equitable, consistent tax roll. Not always easy, can't satisfy everyone. And I understand what Colleen said about the vote. But if at that time the board had all said, we don't want to do this, I probably would have gone to the state and said, the town is not in favor of this. We won't. So I understand they can't guide that, and it could have gone forward, but I'm very sympathetic to the public. So.
Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Mark, for coming down. Thank you, Renee, for helping out. And we will keep on going. All right, I guess I'm up next. So supervisor's report. Everyone, we do have to do the rest of the meeting, pay the bills and stuff. So supervisor's report, at our recent meeting in Hudson, we had a public hearing about the Columbia Forward Micro Enterprise Grant Program, which I would encourage anyone that has a small business in the town of Ankrum to apply, especially if one of you or two of you are part owners. They can award up to $25,000 for assistance to small businesses. And so that looks like it's going forward for the next round. So hopefully we will get additional funding to do that. And according to the financial report for the county, our sales tax revenues are holding steady, maybe a little bit higher than last year. So that's a good thing because the county shares a portion of its taxes to the town. So based on our population, but at least we get a little bit from sales tax. At public safety, we had a couple new volunteers for our cause and origin fire investigation team and our FAST team. So, and FAST stands for the firefighter assistant search team. And basically that's the team that helps actually firefighters that are in distress. So they're the ones that go in and try and help the firefighters when they're in the middle of a fire or whatever they're in. So the other thing in emergency management, they're updating the comprehensive county emergency management plan. And that just helps to coordinate emergency response with police, fire, and EMS in the county. And we just renewed the contracts for the 4 county EMS agencies, which are Greenport Rescue, Community Rescue Squad, which is the one that serves most of us, and Volusia Rescue and Chatham Rescue. So that is all that's happening in public safety. Public works, the Mill Hill Bridge in Gallatin should be finished. I think it finished May 8th. Is that right, Jim? Yeah. So that's good for people that are in the fire company that know that the bridge is open, so, and usable. And if anyone has been in Ancrumdale, you're probably wondering why we have 2 culverts on the little bridge that goes over the Punch Brook into the center of Ancrumdale. The county bridge crew, Jim, if I'm not mistaken, noticed that there was a deficiency, so they put a plate there, a temporary plate, and they're planning on coming back and actually doing work. So I'm sure, Jim, you'll find out when they're going to do it, and he'll send out a message to everyone when they're yeah, probably won't say a word. And so, so there will be some work done on that culvert, which has been concerning because of its age and everything. So, and let's see, the Greenport transfer station is the permit was renewed for another 10 years. So you can bring your mattresses, your TVs, all of your whatever to the Greenport transfer station. They'll take them. We've got 10 years at least of them still. So that's a good thing. And just a reminder, Household Waste Day Hazardous Waste Day will be on October 10th at the Training Center campus in Ghent. So that's all your, like your paints and some of your paints and stuff like that can go there. And let's see, I continue to serve on the Pine Plain Central School Building Utilization Committee. And at this point, kind of narrowed it down to two options: either leave things the way they are with having two elementary schools and one high school, middle school, high school, or combining the two elementary schools into one school, because the one in Pine Plain, Seymour Smith, can actually fit everybody. So those are the two options. And now we're creating an educational impact statement. And that just basically, it's a mandatory document that has to happen before you do anything, any reconfiguration of a school. So, and they look at 5 different factors like enrollment and how it's going to affect the students and how much it's going to cost, and what you're going to do with the building that you actually moved out of. Is it going to get sold or is it going to get rented? So we have to look at that. And the FAC met in April. We looked at the financial report, and we're going to try investing a little bit more money into our T-bills with the guidance of Steve. Thank you. And we'll be completing audits of the supervisor, building department, tax collector, and town clerk in May and June. And that's about it. We started looking at how our tax levy has changed over time. And we're also looking at the kids' camp and pool expenses. And we'll be talking with both Jen with the pool and Taylor maybe eventually about the camp to kind of understand and make some decisions as we start to budget, which you'll start seeing hopefully more workshops about budgeting for the next year. Because as you know, with our assessments changing, budgeting is going to be crucial, and we really have to work pretty hard on that. So that's it for me. Highway report.
Well, we finally got our dirt roads done, just in time for them to have to probably start doing them again next week. Some of them are getting kind of screwed up again already. We started mowing this week. On one of the hot days, the air conditioner stopped working in the tractor, so that kind of put the kibosh on that. That's out for repairs. Like now, we should have it back next week. And on that note, we borrowed a trailer from Akron Construction to take the tractor up there. And it saves quite a bit of money doing that. And we've used it before to move our paver around and other things. And I've been told that they want to sell it. And I'd like to buy it, but they want a little more than I'm allowed to buy without going through the process of bidding it and everything. So I need your guys okay to put out a bid for it, and you guys can yay or nay it next month.
Okay. Do you feel like you'll be able to, like you have enough in your budget to do so? Okay. All right. Yeah. I'd like to see
Won't
that.
affect your fund balance at all.
Okay.
So buying that would help with all the delivery costs. You have to pick the sweeper, pick
Yeah.
up pipes. You don't have to have it delivered, so you'll be saving the cost of delivery.
Yeah.
of these things.
It's like it saved cost of, for instance, the tractor this week. If I'd had them come do a service call, they would have had to come. They charged mileage to come and hours for the tech, diagnose it, and turns out it needs parts. So you had to go back. You'll have to make another trip. You have to pay all that again. And we took it up there, and I think we saved a substantial amount just by taking it right to the repair facility.
So next month you're going to bring, whatever the proposal is.
Yes,
Okay.
I just like you're okay to bid it
To bid it out. Okay.
without a bid.
Okay. No. So
Make a motion.
It's
Okay.
gonna be more than an amount that I'm allowed to do without going through the bid process.
okay. So David, you were going to make a motion
Make a
to,
motion, we allow Jim to go through the bid process and see where we come out.
okay, second. Second. Okay, all in favor? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yep.
On another note, we're gonna be paving. I've been told the contractor, Cal Russo, is gonna be here to pave next week on Bull Hill Road. We'll be going from Pat's Road to the other end on 82. Is what we can do this year. We did some work around the pavilion down there. You may have noticed some new grass growing down there, and we dug out along the sides of the building, put some stone in there to help alleviate the mud problem that was there after it was built. So it seems to be working pretty well so far.
Great.
And of course, my fuel budget's in trouble,
Okay,
as is everybody's. But
yeah.
what are you gonna do? I guess that's about it.
Jim, just one question. You'll have a condition report on that vehicle,
Condition report on the.
on the trailer? I mean, this, when, hoping that it doesn't have, that
Yeah.
it has a lifespan.
Yeah, it's relatively new. I'm gonna put out, it's gonna be in the bid, what particular year
Okay.
I'm looking for. Or newer,
Okay.
and how it's equipped and stuff. It's,
And who does the condition report? Would it be, do you have someone come and look at it? Or, when before you buy it? I'm just for my information, that's all. I don't.
well,
Is it just you go, like you?
Yeah,
go
I
in and
just
get
go
it
look
ready
at
to-
it.
Okay,
we used it and our drivers, they really like the thing.
okay.
And who knows, something might come out of the blue.
Yeah, you never know. But yeah, so I mean, they're familiar, the guys are familiar with it.
Yeah.
They know how to,
Yep.
use it.
It
Whatever.
fits our needs quite well.
Okay. Okay. Monica. Town clerk report.
So I don't have a written report. I just have an oral report. So for the month of April, I turned over $769 in fees to the supervisor. Of that, 610 of it was to Columbia. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I took in $769 in fees. I turned over to the supervisor 159, into Columbia County 610. The 610 are for the recycling tags. I am getting to the end of my tax season now. I will be taking taxes up to the county in June. I will be able to receive the last of taxes the last day of May. They have to be postmarked. I've been working alongside the assessor trying to bring in these grievance forms and stuff. One thing I do have to say about Saturday, he will be here Saturday. I will be here Saturday. We also have a group using this town hall in the afternoon. There might be an overlap. Just be aware if you pull in and there's a parking lot full of cars, don't have a heart attack. It doesn't mean there's a huge line. It just means this building is being used, which is what it was built for. So good for us. The only other thing that came up when I was at my town clerk convention, and I just thought about it the other day because it came up in my town clerk group, is that the state has mandated now that on all dog licenses, we have to have on there where a person who is renewing their dog license has the option to make a donation to a shelter of our choice. This has to be done by resolution by the town. There's not really a whole lot of guidance from the state. There never is. I'm hosting our June town clerk meeting here in Ankrum at the pavilion. So I'll have probably between 15 and 20 town clerks from Columbia and Greene counties there. And I'm going to pick the brains of some of the ones that have already done this in the bigger towns. It is mandated by the state. We have to do it. I'm just a little bit fuzzy on we take the money in, then we have to hold on to it. It has to then, I think, go into its own designated fund line. And then a check has to be cut to that shelter. You all would have to choose what shelter you want to designate, whether it would be the Humane Society, which is one of our shelters, or we also kennel dogs down in Pine Plains. They did say that you can choose more than one shelter. There's a lot of pieces to it. So I'm going to get some more information and bring it back. We are mandated to do it, so we have to do it. But it's just getting the information before all of you of the who, what, when, and where.
What's the deadline on the mandate? Do you know?
That was not given. It's like it has to be done now or yesterday.
Okay. Okay.
I was in a room with 350 other clerks and all of us went, what?
Okay.
So
All right. So yeah, if you just come back.
I'll
to
do
us
some
and-
digging. I've just been a little bit busy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you all know I was busy stamping and licking and sticking 1,200 letters to go in the mail
Yeah.
to make all of you so very, very happy.
Yes. Okay. All right, town board member reports. Councilwoman Boyce.
So last time I had mentioned about having CPR classes for the town. I want to start trying to do 2 classes at least in the year. And it was a little expensive, so I was hoping to find a donor that could offset the cost for these classes. And I actually had somebody donate $1,000. And so we're going to use that money to offset the cost. So it'll be a smaller cost to learn CPR. So I figured the more people we can get in the town to know that, and it's a good thing to know. So we're going to be working on that. I had June 13th, but seems like everything's happening June 13th, so I have to reschedule. The next thing is the town pool. I've been interviewing lifeguards. They're very young. I'm looking for 18-year-old lifeguards because I need a supervising lifeguard to open the pool. I could have a 15 or a 16-year-old, but I'm supposed to have an 18-year-old to open the pool. So we're working on advertising and sending that out. I'm finishing my interviews on the people that were interested already. I have one tomorrow at 5, and I'll be making a decision on some of the younger lifeguards that I'm interviewing. Let's see. I'm trying to locate a WSI, which is a water safety instructor. And what that does is they are able to teach the swim lessons. Right now, the students or the lifeguards that we're teaching, they kind of graduated and are moving on to their own careers. I've tried to pull them back and ask them if they could do one more summer, but no luck yet. So that's where I am right now.
Thanks, Jen. Councilwoman Boyce. Or Gold. I'm sorry. Long day, very long day.
Yeah, just a few updates on the senior day event that we're planning. We held a second meeting with the Office of the Aging. We're planning to hold an event on July 11th for seniors and their caretakers, and we will have speakers. We'll be serving lunch. It's going to be an educational day, providing information on what type of benefits the county and the state offer for seniors and caretakers. We'll have more information on that as we go on. I don't have any updates on the website this month. I hope to have more information next month for you.
Thanks, Amy. Councilman Boyce.
Okay, last month, Colleen, you asked me if I would be willing to look into or work on the door lock system for doors here in the town hall. I spoke to a couple companies who are going to be working on state bid for that. We've got to decide exactly where we want all of our locks to be and what we want to do. Perfect example is this doorway here. We need our doors to be emergency exits, but we also need to get them secured better. So that's going to be an effort to get all of that taken care of. Also wanted to mention to everybody, we had an open house for fire extinguishers to get them filled and inspected and taken care of at the firehouse on May 2nd. I was really well attended. There were a couple things that went on that made it interesting, but we came through it pretty well and actually did a lot of fire extinguishers. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to that. Also, I guess one of the biggest things I would mention to everybody, you know, obviously this weekend is Memorial Day weekend and we're about to go into our summer season. Everybody needs to be aware you're going to see motorcyclists and bicyclists out on the roadways. Be careful, things are going to get a little more active, a little more crowded. And we need to pay attention to all those people out there. And I guess last is the Memorial Day Parade is going to be held here in Ankrum on Monday at 11 a.m. Hopefully the rain will allow us to make that happen. So.
Thank you, David. I realized after I printed all these out, I said I didn't put the Memorial Day parade reminder. So thank God you remembered that because, yeah, I hope everyone can make it and I hope the weather holds. That would be awesome.
If the weather does not hold, a few years ago, we had the Memorial Day Parade and we still did a ceremony inside the firehouse and invited people to come to that. So there will be a ceremony one way or the other. It just may not be quite as large.
Okay, I do remember that. Thank you. That was actually really nice as I remember.
went well,
It was
you know?
really nice when we had it in there at 11 and yeah. You know what I'm gonna do because of how late it is, I'm gonna hold off on my middle public comment space because I have another one at the end. So I guess we'll go on to old business. And I'm just we have the 250th year celebration. Any updates Libby, I don't know if you have anything to share about any updates for the 250th. I know you've been doing a tremendous amount of work on especially on the quilt and everything and genealogy. So if you want to give us an update, if not, I understand.
That are participating in the parade. There's a couple of us who are preparing some of the narratives that have to do with Ankrum during the revolution and leading up to it and what's happened since then. And after all, Ankrum is the location where the Ankrum Forge is. And that by some are considered the first defense plant of the American Revolution. And so we're trying to now Dean Irwin has been working on an article. And of course, I wrote an article about the quilt. And it's so nice to know, you know, if you haven't really taken a look at the quilt, look at it and you'll see some familiar names that are our history and our heritage. And there are some individuals whose families are from those individuals that were mentioned in the quilt. So we're very proud of Ankrum, and I want everyone else to be as well. And I understand there's a couple events going on. You know, the tag sale. And did I miss anything? Anything else?
We are doing the parade. They're
parade,
both happening on
June
the same
13th.
day, unfortunately, but
Well, one is in the morning and one is in the afternoon. And so
Yeah.
it will work out. We hope the weather holds out and we can support both.
thank you.
Yeah.
The float. Yes, the float, as in the Flag Day Parade, which is June 13th, as Libby said. It's in the afternoon. And we are working on getting a float together for Ankrum to show us off.
I ordered at the beginning of the week. I tried to get as close to the welcome to the town of Ankrum signs, the green signs with the barn. It's double-sided. We're going to put it on a frame so you can see both sides on the back of Jim's truck. Jim is going to pull the veterans float. We're going to retrofit the veterans float to be our Flag Day float. We've taken the banners, the Ankrum banners that were on the poles. Some of them they were very faded. Some of them we were able to flip over to the unfaded side, and we've put them on plywood, and we're going to put them around the entire float. And then I ordered a banner that says something along the lines of "Home of the Ankrum Iron Works, proudly served the Patriots' cause," or something like that. I put on it with flags. And I believe as many of us and committee members and stuff that we can get on the float, it's going to be tough because half of us are going to want to be here selling things at tag sales
Mhm.
and half are going to want to be in Hudson, but we'll figure it out.
I'll stay in Akron.
No, 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 no. I think I put in for like 10 people on the float, so we've got extra room. Yeah.
Well, we'll
We
see.
need a bigger trailer.
Yeah, well, yeah, we shall see. So, I think it'll be fun. I think this might be the first time we've ever gone out to Flag Day. So I think it's nice that we are going to go ahead and do that. The goal, and I think all Columbia County towns were at least invited. Most are sending a float. So it'll be nice, and a little interesting this year. So, yeah, so that's where we stand there. Townwide tag sale, we are still planning for June 13th, 9 to 3 p.m. It's going to be out here. I put in in the packet, there's the flyer, which has a little QR code. If you're interested in having a table, bring in, a table, or you could put stuff on a blanket, whatever you want to do. There's a little QR code and you can just fill out your contact information on there and we'll make sure we have a spot for you. And the goal is to get rid of stuff we don't need or we don't want and keep it out of the landfill. We will have areas where if people want to donate to either the fire company or Neighbors Helping Neighbors or the kids camp, they can. But there's no obligation to do that. That is not the main point is keeping stuff out of the landfill, but getting rid of your excess clutter that you may not need. So that is that. Amy already talked about the summer senior care program, so we won't go over that. ZRC membership. So at our workshop, we discussed the ZRC, the remit, and we also looked and talked about the membership about the ZRC. And the one thing that did come up is the potential of not overinflating the size of the ZRC to make sure it's still a manageable group. And I'm wondering if maybe it would be a discussion whether we cap it at the I think it was 9 members, right? Which would allow to have and then 2 alternates. So that but maybe we put that into a resolution, which we will do later on. If we are allowing that. So I'm thinking, does anyone want to discuss it before we go ahead to the resolution before we move on? Or does that sound like a reasonable plan of attack?
So what you're saying is Doug and Beth would then become the voting members.
Right.
And then Matthew and Michael Rossi would just be alternates if somebody should leave it.
Yes. And to put into context, Amy and we happened to be on the meeting where the interviews were happening. Beth has a small scale farm. And so it would be nice to have someone with that expertise, because when Dennis left, there wasn't any farming expertise. So that was how I understood it, Amy. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Doug happened to have a wealth of expertise in zoning law and working with zoning codes. And he was here last month and talked with us. So
My one question is, would Doug have to recuse himself from some of the smaller zoning or like making that, or not really because it has to come to us, or?
Right. I think it's okay because it's more of they create the recommendation to us. We actually have to vote on it.
Okay.
So they're just advisory. Yeah. I see, but I understand what you're talking about. Yeah.
No, because he
has projects in
he has projects in the town that is looking for a smaller zoning, which I'm kind of okay with, but would he have to recuse himself for that kind of stuff?
I don't think so. Okay. As an on the advisory committee, it's fine because we have to do the vote. So. Okay.
So Carol, just for clarification, are all of the members of the current committee board active? So everybody comes and participates?
So that would be something I might have to do at a different, like the next meeting, but I
just have to repeat
yeah.
your response, Carol. For the people on Zoom, they couldn't hear your response and they.
There is one appointed member who has not shown up, so that member has not been active since January. We've had about 6 meetings. And I would very much appreciate it if the town board would have a resolution limiting the number of unexcused absence on committees,
Okay.
at least ours.
It probably wouldn't be a bad idea. We've always left it kind of up to the committee chair, but maybe if we had a more broader policy, it would probably be the best thing so that the committee chairs have something that they can actually point to and, say you can't miss more than 3 consecutive absences. Just to be clear, it's easier to be able to, it would be unexcused. Obviously, there are extenuating circumstances for whatever reason, but.
Right, and it should be uniform across.
Exactly. So I'll make a note to work on the absences in general.
So right now, if you put on the voting member of Doug and Beth, you would stay the way that is right now until we figure out about the excused absences or non-excused absences. And stay that way and keep the other 2 as alternates for a while, correct? Right.
Okay. Right. Yeah, that you being an alternate allows you to train and learn kind of what's going on and how things work, board and committee. So. Okay, I guess we'll move on to new business. David already kind of gave his update about locks and the phone system is going to be a while, I think, but we will still continue to work on it. But so David, I know you're working on the locks and we'll be getting. You did not work on the phone system and I didn't ask you to, so that's totally fine. That's on me. Planning and Zoning Board membership update. In your packet, there is a letter from Darren Mosier about a request that he would like to potentially, he's currently a ZBA alternate member and he wants to move to the planning board as an alternate member. And at this time, the planning board has 0 alternate members. So his request actually is quite helpful because then we would have an alternate one on the planning board, 1 on the zoning board. And then what we will do is fill the second alternates on each board. So, because right now the planning board has no alternate, which is a problem, being that they have so many things in front of them that if they lose quorum, they have to, dismiss things. So, I have a resolution at the end to do for Darren. And so I guess we'll do a motion. How about a motion to approve that? Do you want to do the full resolution at the end?
Yeah.
There it is. Not quite yet. I'm right here. Yep. I'm in Ankrum. Yep, I'm right there. Sure, that sounds good. Okay, so the last thing on new business are the potential impacts of data centers in New York. I'm sure you've all heard about these. It's become a hot button topic. They are being built all over. It's to support AI for the most part. They're huge, huge structures that basically maybe take a handful of people to run them. So they're not like a job creator. And they drain energy, they drain water, they drain all sorts of natural resources. And some of the towns in New York State are starting to actually strengthen their zoning law to actually really put very clear and specific laws that actually prohibit or attempt to prohibit them coming into the space. Because can you imagine, I mean, we have perfect area. We have all this farmland, which could be perfect for that. So I think we're going to start to look at that and see. I know the town of Dryden already has a law on the books for that. And there are quite a few around the state, but I think we're close enough to Albany and close enough to the city where I could see them wanting to come in here and do that. And it would really, really be very destructive
Yeah, I think
to
it's
our
important that we
community.
do. I
So
think we should add detention centers to that investigation as well.
oh, I never thought about that. Yeah. That's a good one. No, we've just changed it for you, Carol. I'm sorry about that. No, just kidding.
We want you to take.
Right. Right,
The data
exactly.
center might be on the top of the list now.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed.
Yeah. Right. She needs her new members to really talk about this now. But in all seriousness, it is potentially very detrimental to our community with I see no benefit. So, okay, last but not least, what we'll do is we'll do our resolutions now, and then we'll do public comment. And
Okay, so the first resolution is an appointment of a planning board member. Whereas pursuant to section 271 of the New York State Town Law and the Town of Ancrum zoning law, the town board is authorized to appoint members to the Town of Ancrum Planning Board. And whereas a vacancy exists on the planning board, and whereas the town board has reviewed the qualifications of Darren Mosier and finds them well suited to serve the community in this capacity, whereas Darren Mosier has resigned as a member of the zoning board of appeals, and now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the Town of Ancrum hereby appoints Darren Mosier as an alternate member of the Town of Ancrum Planning Board for a term commencing May 21st, 2026 and expiring December 31st, 2029. And be it further resolved that the appointee must take and file the constitutional oath of office with the town clerk within 30 days of appointment. You're here, Darren, don't leave.
I was going to say, Darren, are you still here? He just left? Okay. You got to sign Monica's book is basically what you have to do to make it legal. So, and they went running after, and the reason his is slightly shorter than a normal 7-year or 5-year term is because he's filling in for someone. So I'm having him unexpired term. Exactly. He's filling her unexpired term. So,
Okay, so now it's you.
what? It's me?
Motion.
Yes. Motion to approve. I second it. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carried.
Okay, and the second resolution is the appointment of zoning revision committee members. Whereas pursuant to the New York State Town Law, Section 63, the town board is authorized to appoint members of the zoning revisions committee. And whereas several vacancies exist on the zoning revisions committee, and whereas the town board and the zoning revisions committee has reviewed the qualifications and interviewed Doug Larson, Beth Courtville, Matthew Bernstein, and Michael Del Rossi, and finds them well suited to serve the community in this capacity. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the Town of Ancrum hereby appoints Doug Larson, Beth Courtville, Matthew Bernstein, and Michael Del Rossi as members of the Town of Ancrum Zoning Revisions Committee. Alex, should it say
Yeah.
Doug Larson and Beth Courtville as full members of
yeah.
the ZRC and Matthew Bernstein and Mike Del Rossi as alternate members?
I think that works. Yeah, first and second. That will work fine. Yeah, I didn't add it in there because I just wanted to be double sure that I put them in the right way. Okay.
Yep, that's the way I got it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, that sounds good.
Carol, thank you for bringing that up and coming up with a remit and coming up with the plan that we asked you to do and doing it. So we appreciate that.
Very helpful. Thank you. And I guess I will also entertain, oh, sorry. Yeah. It's very helpful because it's a huge job. Oh. I also wanted to do an additional motion to that to limit the membership of the ZRC to 9 full members and 2 alternates.
So how about
wanna do-
after we put the whereas the town board and the zoning revisions committee has reviewed the qualifications, yada, yada, yada. Before we get to the now therefore be it resolved, we'll put and whereas the town board does hereby cap membership at 9 members. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Ankrum does hereby appoint these members.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the revised resolution to add that.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
One second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay.
Okay, public comment. Does anyone have any comments that they want to share with us? Oh, thanks, Aaron. We were ready. We're like, okay, now what? No. We've kind of been doing comments throughout, so, I understand. So I guess I will also entertain a motion and second to approve the warrants and pay the bills.
Make a motion, I second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Oh, aye. Okay, motion carried and a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
All right.
Second it.
All in favor? Thank you.